So this is the second full month that I've been dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace, and keep in mind I've been doing it for about 2.5 months, but the first month specifically was really only like a week or a week to 2 weeks maybe, and I was kind of testing things, wasn't taking it too seriously, and I was just kind of sticking my metaphorical feet in the water to see if it was viable, and it was as promising as some people had said, right? And then obviously I saw that, so I tried to start to scale it in month 2, which was last month, okay? And in the month, previously I had tried to scale it. I took it pretty seriously, but I was suspended for probably about 2 weeks of that month on Facebook with the whole like suspend gate thing that was going on, where everybody just started getting suspended and shut down for no reason. And so I've been up for the entirety of this month, no suspensions. Keep in mind that the entirety of this past weekend, which was the holiday weekend for Memorial Day, I wasn't really doing anything with it. I was just taking orders. I wasn't listing. I wasn't doing anything that I usually do to kind of promote new sales and stuff like that. And if you need to know like some tips that I recommend that will help, kind of spur new sales along, you can check out the last video that I actually dropped on this channel, which was, I believe, 11 tips to help you sell more on Facebook Marketplace, right? So I pretty much took like the last week almost off, just went away. I went away to like a river in upstate New York, so it was pretty cool. It was right on the border of Canada. Never been there before. It was very, very cool with my fiance and some friends. And so the majority of this month I took it seriously and tried to scale it. So I'm gonna give you the profit report of what I actually took home, right? Like the take home money this month, the revenue that I got, obviously, what I spent to get that, and then the average margin and all the good stuff, right? So I'm gonna show all that to you here in a second. We're gonna jump into it, but after that, I'm gonna talk about my goals for next month and some key insights that I feel allow me to kind of hit those numbers and where I see this business kind of capping out at, if there is a cap, and what you can do to obviously achieve these numbers as well, all right? So no fluff, let's just jump into it. Pull my calculator out here, and the numbers for this past month are, the total earned was $20,575.79. The total I had to spend to get there was $14,996.34, which comes out to a profit margin of $5,579.45 for an average margin of 37% per sale, right? So I think that those numbers are pretty good. Now, keep in mind that this is a more hands-on business, in my opinion. I did outsource, I did hire some things, which we're gonna talk about here in a second, but it is a little bit more time consuming than something like an information products business or something like Amazon FBA, where you can actually ship your stuff into Amazon and they do all that stuff for you. Now, the benefit of drop shipping, like we're talking about here, is that you can facilitate those sales, but because a lot of times you're doing a lot of orders per day, it is time consuming, and if you're listing still on your own, it's gonna take a lot of your time, and it can be stressful, at least in my experience, even though it's pretty easy to do, even though you're not, handling any products yourself or anything like that. It can be kind of stressful here and there to constantly see orders rolling in, constantly be looking at your metrics, constantly listing and finding new products, because if you do it like over and over and over and over and over again every day, you kind of fear that like if you get behind it and you start to scale it a little bit, if you get behind for a day, as I've seen this past week, it took me like a day or two to actually catch up when I was on vacation. As I've seen this past week or so, like if you let it kind of, snowball for a day or two, you're gonna be really, really, really backed up, okay? So it is a little bit of hands-on, and those numbers did take a lot more effort than like my information products business or like anything that I ship into Amazon. But I think that's pretty good profit margin, A, for me, but also for a beginner as well. And I really realistically see myself scaling this business. I don't know if, I think I can probably double it. I'm gonna set the goal for 10, which is a little bit under double. Originally, I had set the goal this past month for May for, I believe, 6,000, which I didn't actually hit. But if I had taken it seriously for the past like 4 to 5 days, because I was away, I was for Memorial Day, I probably would have hit 6,000, but I did not. So I'm right under 6,000 at about 5.6K, and realistically I'm gonna set the goal for June at about 10,000. I think that I can get there, especially with what I'm implementing right now, okay? Now I had 515 sales in the month of May. I'm already probably close to like a little bit under 100. By the end of the day, I'd probably assume that I'm under 100, and I don't think it's that far off because I'm just under 1,000 already, and it's 10:30 a.m. on June 3rd. So I'm almost at 1,000 already, It's only 3 days into the month and it's not even 10:30 yet in the morning. So I don't think 10,000 is that far off, especially with what I'm doing now, right? So, I'm gonna tell you what I feel like allowed me to get there here in a second, but let's actually take the average profit margin or the average profit per sale here for you guys. So 55.79, divided by 515 sales is an average of almost $11 profit per sale, right? So that kind of is a good parameter for you, barometer. I don't know, I feel like I'm slow from like all the drinking from this past weekend, so stick with me. It's $11 profit roughly per sale. That's a good barometer for you to set, like to see like if your margins are a little bit high, if they're a little bit low, right? If all your profit margins that you're accepting for per order are like $3, well, you need to kind of increase that, right? You're never gonna hit, you know, realistically multiple thousands of dollars relatively easily. It's going to be a headache to get there if your margins are too low, right? And keep in mind, like some of my margins, some of my profit margins on sales are like $100. Some of my profit margins per sales are like as low as $3 or $5. But it realistically depends on how much you're spending in to get that. And I'm trying to move more away from like the $5 profit margin sales, because it seems like once you start scaling, like you get like 10 to 20 to sometimes like 30 or 40 orders a day, and it's just tedious and annoying for $5 profit when you can just, I would rather honestly not do that sale and just have a couple of bigger sales with like some $10 profit margin sales sprinkled in there, rather than constantly go after like $55 sales, because it's a headache to process them all and do all the shipping and stuff like that. And then it's a headache to get all the tracking numbers and implement them as well. Although you can obviously outsource that, which is what I believe allowed me to get there, okay? So that's all the numbers for you. Just to recap, 37% margins on average for all my sales, and about 5.6K in the month of May profit margin, right? That's my take-home profit. Obviously, I haven't that's not cash collected yet because Facebook still owes me some of that money. And keep in mind, this is just Facebook Marketplace dropshipping. This is not, you know, Mercari. This is not Amazon. This is not Poshmark. This is nothing like that. It's just Facebook Marketplace dropshipping, okay? And so realistically, what I feel like allowed me to get there the quickest is hiring, right? I hired somebody to list for me, which was a complete game changer. It took a lot of my time to actually list, because I was listing like at least 50 items a day, sometimes up to 100. And it took so much time. I never had any time to really do that. But even when I spent the time, like I just felt like I was constantly like spinning my wheels like a hamster, right? So I outsourced that very, very cheap. I think I outsourced it for like 50 cents a listing. It's super cheap. And I plan on creating a video very, very soon on, you know, how I recommend that you outsource or hire, and how I've gone about doing it, and how you can find great people to do this with for relatively cheap, so you can obviously scale your business, okay? Now, the next thing that I plan on hiring specifically for Facebook Marketplace dropshipping is the order fulfillment, okay? And so what I'm doing right now is I'm testing different people to see, you know, a pool of listers that can list for me, maybe about 4 to 5, and then the best one of those listers is going to, you know, be the first person that I kind of try to do my order fulfillment. Now, the reason I've waited a little bit and I plan to obviously, you know, qualify some people a little bit more is because when you're doing listing, it's relatively easy to kind of have them list for you. Anybody can do that. Now, when you're doing order fulfillment, you're giving them like your credit card information, which is a lot of trust, right? But if you're doing credit cards, obviously you can always file like a chargeback, or it does, like that's not that big of a deal. But more importantly, in my opinion, is it's your metrics, right? So if they mess an order up, or especially with like Amazon, although I know specifically right now we're talking about Facebook Marketplace, if they mess a couple of orders up, that could be your account and you're suspended, right? So it's a lot more trust, and you really need to, you know, qualify these people for order fulfillment a little bit more than you do obviously with listing. So that's the only reason I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet, but that is the next thing that I plan on doing. Realistically, maybe not this month, but potentially the month after June, although I could pull the trigger later on in the month of June. I want to do it obviously because it takes a lot of time off my hands, as it will take a lot of time off yours. But I really want to make sure that I trust that person and that they're very, very good at what they're doing before I kind of hand over the reins to that, okay? But realistically, if I do that, it's going to be like a hands-off business earning me like probably 10K profit a month, and I'm not really doing anything to do that, right? Right now, all I'm doing is I'm hiring people to list. I'm telling them pretty much what I want them to list, and then I'm processing orders, which can be anywhere from like 10 orders a day all the way up to like 30 orders a day. And keep in mind, that's just an estimate. Some days I get like 5 orders. Some days I probably get like 40 orders, but realistically it's probably about like 10 to 20, maybe a little bit more than that, okay? So that's pretty much just like spitballing off the top of my head how I did in May, almost said June, and how I did in May, which is my second full month dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace. Realistically, like I said before, I plan on scaling this to hopefully 10K profit this month, although the key issue there is, A, you need to hire to realistically get there, or you're just gonna burn yourself out, I promise you that. If not right now, eventually, I promise you that. And B, you need to spend a decent amount of money to get there, right? So if I can assume roughly the same margins, I'm gonna have to spend probably $30,000 in the month of June to hit about 10K profit, okay? So for those of you that don't have a lot of cash flow, or for those of you that don't have, credit that you can obviously leverage via credit cards or anything like that, that can be an issue and you want to scale a little bit slower, okay? Now, I have credit cards, but I'm not like crazy about like charging my credit cards up, because in the past I was in debt about $20,000. So I'm realistically being like very, very careful about how I go about doing that. I could just put it all on credit cards and then pay it off with, things like that, and all the cash that comes back to me. But I'm not like super excited with that. So for about, I'd say half of it I'm using cash, and then about another half of it I'm using credit cards, like cashback credit cards with Amazon, if it's an Amazon purchase, cashback credit cards with Walmart, if it's a Walmart purchase, because you get 5% on both of those. And then I have a 2% cashback card on all purchases online that I use for all my other suppliers, which is probably the main things that I actually source from, okay? So that's pretty much all that kind of entails in my business in the past month or two. I scaled it originally. I forget how much it was, but it was like $200 or $300. It might have been like $500. Month two, I think it was like $2,000 or $3,000 profit. I want to say it was like 2.5 maybe. I'll drop the video of last month's profit, which was my first full month actually doing it. But keep in mind, I was suspended for about 2 weeks in there from Facebook Marketplace suspensions. But I'll drop that video for the first month down in the description at the bottom. But realistically right now, I don't see any reason why I can't hit $10,000 profit, and why you can't either here in the month of June if you obviously emulate these, okay? And the next thing that I plan on doing, obviously outside of Facebook Marketplace, is really scaling up the Amazon side of things with the Amazon dropshipping, which is really, really promising. I think I turned it off a little bit because there's a lot to manage, and I hadn't, I have like an information product side of my business as well. And then obviously I do the Facebook Marketplace dropshipping, and then I do a little bit of online arbitrage still with like books and wholesale and stuff like that with Amazon FBA. And then obviously with the Amazon dropshipping, it's just a lot to manage right now, and that's why I'm focused on like hiring and kind of building systems that I can kind of turn those things a little bit hands off, and it doesn't take like all of my focus to kind of maintain those, okay? So I only made about $1,000 I think in the month of May Amazon dropshipping, but that wasn't because there was an opportunity there. It was just because I didn't have the time to kind of scale it and focus on it. But one of the things, I actually have like the sheet of things I'm going to record here in a second. One of the things that I plan on scaling in the month of June is the Amazon side of things as well, and I don't see any reason of why I can't get to $5,000 profit drop shipping in the month of June, with just Amazon. So I really hope that that helps. Key lesson here is keep listing. Obviously you want to list in-demand things, but also just list in volume, because you're gonna learn a lot by doing that, and the easiest way to do that is to hire. So I'm sure I forgot some key points. I'm still like dragging a little bit mentally from all the drinking for the holiday weekend. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Give it a thumbs up if you appreciate the value in it, and I'll see you in the next one.